Need a controller with a bit more style? This is the MuStick 1612. It's got so many cool features like a split button layout so that your hands are further apart. It's also just got so much cool styling, aluminum enclosure with the black color, but also a separate layer of metal for the logo. Some really nice feeling buttons here for the options buttons and the action buttons and direction buttons. There's so much to cover, so let's jump straight into some gameplay and show you exactly what this controller can do. Just want to point out at the start that this product was sent to me free of charge for the purposes of making this video, but I haven't been instructed to say anything specific about it, and all opinions are my own. Alright, I've got Street Fighter 6 booted up here, and as you can see, I've got the MuStick ready to use, and it's exactly as you would expect. I've got left, right, down, and jump over here. It does go into neutral when you press both up and down at the same time, or left and right, you also get neutral. And for the button layout, we've got punch, 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 and we've also got kick, kick, kick. Now, what's interesting is all the other buttons. By default, this was the jump button, but I have removed the cable and I've actually rewired it to be over here. It is not a difficult process. It's just a little bit scary the first time you do it. You'll open up the back of the controller and you'll be like, why am I doing this? But once you've figured out how it works, it's not that difficult to get exactly the right button layout that you want, and you'll have yourself the perfect leverless controller with a wide split button layout. So let me talk about why I'm a big fan of this layout and why I'm experimenting with it recently. One of the things that new players discover is that doing a shoryuken like this is not so difficult on this side, but if you try to go over to the second player's side, now you have to do a shoryuken using your ring finger and your middle finger. And if you've never done it before, it's a bit of an unnatural movement. And as you can see, it goes forward, down, down, forward. Just do this with your fingers, even if you don't have a controller in front of you. Try and wiggle your ring finger and your middle finger really quickly. And then after that, understand that it's not just about doing it quickly, it's about doing it on demand at the exact right speed and with the right combination that you're trying to do. Basically, if you've never done it before, you will quickly discover that leverless is not the super quick, just cheat and then you win controller that a lot of people used to think it was. On a regular leverless controller, you often have a jump button right here in the middle and you have your hands coming in at this angle. What's interesting is that when you do spread your hands out like this, you have a lot of different options with regards to the rotation of your hands. And if you're going to have your hands in the completely prone position, then you get, this complete up and down motion on the button. So it's just like up, down, up, down. But when you have your hands in the middle position, your hands just naturally kind of turn in like this. They just kind of supinate or pronate, I'm not really sure which the term is, but your hands just kind of rotate outwards like this, and instead of having the finger come straight down, so all of the force of the finger goes straight into the key, only half of the force goes into the key when your finger is kind of grazing it sideways like this. So I'm not trying to say that this is the best layout, but if you are finding that dragon punches on the right side of the screen are more difficult than on the left side of the screen, it's entirely possible that switching over to a split layout will make it easier for you to keep your hands in this completely prone position, or, as close as you can get to it, so that you don't have to worry about your fingers relaxing like this and then becoming at a funny angle. Now, even on a split layout like this, you can end up with your fingers kind of at a hot sideways angle, at which point you should probably be looking into one of these more ergonomic controllers where your hands actually move sideways, but I think those controllers also have their own quirks that make them maybe better or worse in other ways. If you're playing at a desk and you've got arms that you can rest your arm on your chair, then when you go to the MuStick like this, you'll find that your hands just come straight off the arms and onto the controller in a completely straight angle. It's kind of striking. The first time you do it, you're like, it genuinely feels like you're piloting some kind of super gigantic Japanese manga robot. So just to show you how I've got it set up, I actually just deactivated this button because I wasn't using it. If I need to do a drive impact, I just press that with my left hand, and if I need to do a parry, I just tap the button like so, or if I press them both like this, I can do a drive rush. Always get them mixed up. The next thing you'll see is that although you've got punch, 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 kick, kick, kick over here, you don't have the regular L1 and L2 position. Your pinky doesn't really need to worry about what row it's on. It's just like, there is only one button set for the pinky to use. You don't have to worry about moving it up or down for the different macros. It kind of makes more sense mentally to have like a big shortcut button here on the left and a big shortcut button here on the right. Obviously, to press this one, you need to move your finger off over here, but for the pinky to have one button dedicated to just this attack, I don't know, I just feel like it works really well because I'm less likely to press the wrong button by accident. These buttons do have removable key switches. You can actually see these are Kale low profile Choc V1 switches. They're amber. They feel perfectly nice to me. These are the custom aluminum CNC'd buttons that he makes for this controller. Underneath this keycap, there is actually a silencer O-ring. It's clearly not doing a very good job because this is a pretty loud controller, but you should know that there is some silencing going on here. One thing I'm also finding really comfortable is just leaving my hands on the actual controller. Now, generally, I don't recommend this because usually I like to have all the weight of my finger go into the button and no more and no less than required. And if you have your palms resting on here, you do feel like the tension go all the way up your arm like this. So I usually don't recommend it, but if you are the type of person that doesn't have any pain, like if you actually don't feel pain after playing with your palms resting on the controller, then I should point out that this feels really comfortable. First of all, it's a nice slim controller. Obviously, I think it's safer to have these rubber feet on here. But if you don't have the rubber feet, you can actually make the controller go even lower down. Now, I'm actually going to switch over to this game, Under Night in Birth, because there's a character who has a lot of Dragon Punch motions that you can't do shortcuts for. So in Under Night in Birth now, and one of the moves that Seth can do is a Dragon Punch, but it doesn't actually look like a Dragon Punch. It's just the Dragon Punch input that you know from Street Fighter. So he often has to do a Dragon Punch to the right, followed by a Dragon Punch to the left, so he can catch the enemy on the way down, which means you have to do Dragon Punch, like quickly in succession and in opposite directions. And this will really mess with your head the first time you do it, because you'll be like, oh man, it's like Dragon Punch, and I can't do Dragon Punches on the second side. It's like, if you can't do Dragon Punches on the second player's side, you won't be able to do this combo at all. Anyway, that's enough about the split button layout. It's also just a very satisfying controller to use because all the buttons that, you really hear them. This is not a quiet controller by any stretch of the imagination. If you're looking for a quite quiet controller, this is obviously not the one. Listen to it. Well, these are loud buttons, but they are like custom. I think they're custom made, but they feel kind of heavy. So this is not like the lightest possible button cap you could make. I actually think that maybe if I were to give some feedback, I would suggest actually making slightly lighter buttons, or at least have some kind of dampening so that prevents them from like hitting the plastic so hard. It's not painful at all. It just feels like it could afford to be a little bit quieter. I kind of commend the creator for going with aluminium, even knowing that like these are really not the optimal button cap, but because it's cool to have metal button caps on a metal controller with, black all over, but it's also got like this inset design of this Mu kanji on the front. I think what's cool about this controller is that it's not trying to be like the optimal controller, it's just trying to be like the most personality. Like obviously with this complete like blackout design with only the silver and just this the Chinese character that means nothingness. I mean, it's all very philosophical, but it's just got this, it gets you like in the mood, it gets you in like the right mindset to be like focused on nothing but the game. Just got myself in the control position. I feel like I don't have to move my body at all. I actually don't know if that's healthy. Maybe it's better if you've got a controller that forces you to move around a lot. Let's talk about how it feels on your lap. The controller looks absolutely stunning on a desk, but put it on your lap and it actually feels right at home here, even with these sort of rubber feet on here. They don't dig into your leg, and even if they did, you can remove these super easily. There's like no position that this will fall off your lap because it's one of those wider controllers where it's actually wider than my lap. So even with my legs coming straight out, there's like still gaps on the side. There's still more space. Let's just go back into the game and just test out these combos. Just does exactly what I want. It's kind of loud though, I have to admit. This is not a polite controller. This is not the sort of thing that your partner is going to be happy to listen to you playing with, like next to them. If they're watching TV and you're playing video games on the side, even like in the next room over, if you're using this controller, it's kind of loud. It's gonna annoy them. I kind of like that this controller is unapologetic about that sort of thing. It's like, I am what I am. You don't buy this controller because it's the most optimal, and you certainly don't buy it because it's the cheapest, because it most certainly is not. Something I should point out is that this controller is very much a passion project for the creator. So he's made his website for the controller. He's even stated that like for every controller he makes, even though it costs $465 for the controller and like $45 for postage, he says he basically comes to about $5 profit per controller that he makes. Now, if this design is obviously very popular, he might be able to optimize it, and he might be able to make changes here and there to the manufacturing, so he could actually turn a profit. I have a feeling that even if this controller is received well by players, if like 100 people ask him to make them, I think he's probably going to be like, how am I going to make 100 of these controllers? It's going to take forever. So I actually don't know what the plan is for the manufacturing of this, but you should know that it's kind of a passion project. If you want to buy one, it's way more expensive. Like even the most expensive official leverless controller only goes for about $400. So at $465, you're buying a controller that is not officially licensed, but it does have probably the best board that you can put into it in terms of compatibility. As you can see, I'm plugged directly into my PS5 at the moment, and I'm having no issues with timeouts or anything because at the moment, the board inside this controller is a Brook USB Fusion. I guess the concept behind this controller is to put everything best in here. It's got like the best board in it. It's got like a split PCB on the inside, so it's actually modular. Like certain parts can be swapped out with other modules if maybe you want a module with a different PCB in it, if you want to have different wiring in it. Some really interesting stuff going on with the inside of the controller, but it's also just like complete aluminum construction with this 2-layer top plate with these custom aluminum buttons. Just the fit and finish of this thing, it's super nice to have, but absolutely not the controller you should buy if you're looking for what is the cheapest way to get into leverless controllers. This is something that you would buy because you want to be proud of something that is made by an individual, and it's kind of an art piece. This is an art piece controller, and definitely something that's going to be part of, you know, a collection. If you've got a collection of really nice controllers, you would be very proud to have this on your shelf. But although I love the split button layout, it's not that it's actually like the perfect layout or anything. I mean, having this button over here, having L1 and L2 on either side instead of having them as just one L1 and L2 over here, like a regular controller, and then having extra buttons on top of that, it's kind of interesting, but it's not, it's difficult to say that it's like optimal or it's the best layout or anything. One thing that sets this MuStick apart from so many other controllers is the insane premium feel of this unboxing experience. I don't actually know if the production models will have the same box, but it has a magnetic flap at the front which opens up to reveal the controller. Incredibly well protected by foam, which has been custom shaped to fit the controller nicely. It even has these little holes where you can reach your thumbs in and pick up the controller without damaging it. And the accessories that you'll require to use the controller, like the USB cable and the extra jumper cables and the extra screws, are right here in this pocket. This may seem like such a small thing, but the unboxing experience for controllers tends to be a little bit lackluster, especially with people aiming for as low prices as possible, and so the packaging is as basic as possible. So for something like the MuStick to come in with this premium aluminum feel, and in addition, the box itself is also super premium enough that you wouldn't want to throw it away. You'd want to store your controller in here when you're not using it. I love the unboxing experience for this. So really, I think the important stuff to know about this controller is that it's got the split button layout, and even though it's split, you can choose. You can have the jump button here on the left, or you can have the jump button here on the right. Whichever way you want it is fine, but you don't have a jump button up here. So if you're looking for a controller that is WSAD style, up, down, left, right, this doesn't have it. If you're looking for a controller that has L1 and L2 in the regular place, it doesn't have it. Instead, it's got this very unique giant button here on the left, giant button on the right. And actually, it seems to work really well because I always know that I've actually pressed this button. I know that I'm going to do my quick run instead of accidentally, oh, did I press, am I on the top row of buttons or am I on the bottom row? I think that design-wise, this is a really interesting decision that I like. And of course, I've got shortcut buttons exactly where I need on my thumbs. So if I want to do my drive rushes like so, I can do that. If you think this is the layout for you, then what you've got on your hands here is an actual art piece. This thing is beautiful, and it's something you're going to want to show off to people. But it is wildly more expensive than the other controllers out there that are not licensed. Like usually when you're paying $300 or $400 for a controller, really what you're paying for is the fact that it's a big company that has the official license. It's not even the best layout or the best feel or the best features or anything. Listen, that's it for the MuSticks 1612. It's certainly not the cheapest way to go about it, but if you're looking for a controller that is ultra unique and has a very fresh look at the way that we lay these buttons out, and actually has a split button layout that I think actually helps and makes it easier to handle things like dragon punches on the second player side, side, then this is definitely a controller that you should check out. Just keep in mind that this is not the cheapest way to go about it. This is a premium product that's still not officially licensed. You're buying this because you want the art piece. You're buying this because you want a piece of individually created, community-built hardware. If you're okay with that, then this is definitely a controller that you should check out. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out this video next if you love controllers. I've been NihongoGamer. I also love controllers. I'll see you real soon.